Your hydrangea looks magnificent. Big, healthy, deep green leaves. A full, lush, rounded bush. The picture of a thriving plant. And not one single flower. Not this year. Maybe not last year either. Just leaves. And it is maddening. Because the plant is so clearly healthy. You have watered it. You have cared for it. You have done everything you were supposed to do. And meanwhile, the hydrangea in your neighbor's yard, the one they completely ignore, is absolutely smothered in blooms. Here is what almost nobody tells you. In the vast majority of cases, this one frustrating symptom, big leaves and no flowers, comes down to just 5 possible causes. And the single most common one of all is something you were actively told to do. There is a piece of pruning advice, repeated everywhere, in books, on websites, by well-meaning neighbors, that is quietly killing your flowers before they ever get the chance to open. I am going to call it exactly what it is, the pruning lie. And once you see it, you will never make that mistake again. But pruning is only suspect number 1. So I am going to walk you through all 5, in order, from the most common to the least, so you can pinpoint exactly which one is happening to your plant. Because it is almost always one of these 5. By the end of this video, you are going to be able to walk outside, look at your own hydrangea, and diagnose it in about 2 minutes. You will know exactly why it is not blooming and exactly what to change to get those flowers back. Not vague advice, the actual answer. But before we can solve any of this, you have to be able to answer one simple question about your plant. And here is the strange part. Almost nobody can. Get this one question right, and everything else falls into place. Get it wrong, and every piece of advice you have ever been given about hydrangeas was useless to you. Let me show you what it is. Here is the one question that changes everything, and the real reason most hydrangea advice fails you. What kind of hydrangea do you actually have? Because hydrangeas split into 2 camps, and the difference between them decides almost everything about why yours won't bloom. The 2 camps are based on one thing: where the plant makes its flower buds. The first camp blooms on what gardeners call old wood. These plants set their flower buds in late summer, on the stems that grew that same year. And then those tiny buds sit there, dormant, all through fall and winter, waiting to open the following summer. So the flowers for this June were actually formed last August. The second camp blooms on new wood. These plants make their flower buds fresh, on the current season's growth, each spring. Last year's stems do not matter. They start over every year. And here is why this is everything. Every single piece of advice about when to prune, about what winter does to your plant, about why it is not flowering, flips completely depending on which camp yours is in. Generic advice that ignores this question is not just unhelpful. It is actively harmful. It is how this whole problem starts. So which do you have? The old wood camp is the classic big leaf hydrangea, the big blue and pink mop heads, and the flat lace caps, plus the oak leaf, mountain, and climbing types. The new wood camp is the panicle types, with the cone-shaped flower heads, like the popular limelight, and the smooth types, like Annabelle. And then there are the re-bloomers, like the Endless Summer series, which bloom on both, though even they flower mostly on old wood. The simple tell is this: round mophead flowers and oak leaf-shaped leaves mean old wood. Cone-shaped flowers mean new wood. Keep the plant tag if you have it. So do me a favor. Drop a comment and tell me which type you have and what state you are in. Because winter matters enormously here, and that depends on where you live. Now with that in hand, let's expose the lie. So here is the lie. You have heard it 100 times. cut your shrubs back in the fall to tidy them up for winter, or prune everything in late winter before the new growth starts. For most shrubs in your yard, that is perfectly fine advice. For an old wood hydrangea, that single sentence is the reason you have no flowers. Let me walk you through exactly why, because once you see it, it is impossible to unsee. Remember what we just established. An old wood hydrangea sets its flower buds in late summer. So by the time fall arrives, this coming summer's flowers already exist. They are there, right now, tiny and dormant, sitting on those stems, waiting for their moment. So look at what happens when you follow that advice. You go out in the fall, or in winter, or in early spring, and you cut the bush back to neaten it up. You think you are shaping it. You are not. You are amputating. You are cutting off every single flower bud the plant made, before any of them ever had the chance to open. Then spring comes, and the plant grows back a beautiful flush of healthy green leaves, because the plant itself is fine. But the flowers? The flowers were cut off and thrown in the yard waste bin months ago. You threw away your own blooms, and you did it carefully, on purpose, because someone told you to. This is the single most common reason a healthy hydrangea will not bloom. And here is the part I really want you to hear. If you have been dutifully cutting your hydrangea back every year, wondering what you were doing wrong, the answer is nothing. You did nothing wrong as a gardener. You were simply given the wrong instruction for this one particular plant. So here is the fix, and it is simple. For old wood hydrangeas, the rule is this: prune as little as possible, and only at one specific time, right after the plant finishes flowering in summer and before about the end of July or the start of August. That timing matters, because it gives the plant the rest of the season to set next year's buds before fall arrives. Outside that one window, the only cutting you should ever do is removing clearly dead stems and deadheading the spent, faded flowers. That is IT. And if your bush has gotten overgrown and you are tempted to cut it way down, please resist that urge. Instead, right after it flowers, thin out just a few of the very oldest stems, cutting them at the base. That opens the plant up and rejuvenates it without sacrificing all your blooms. Now, I have to give you the other half of this so you do not overcorrect and make a new mistake. The new wood types are the complete opposite. The panicles and the smooth hydrangeas bloom on this year's growth, so they actually should be pruned in late winter or early spring, and they are very forgiving about it. This is exactly why knowing your type, the question from a moment ago, matters so much. The right time to prune one type is the worst possible time to prune the other. And here is the bonus, the part that makes this so worth getting right. Unlike some of the other causes we are about to cover, this one is often an instant fix. Get the timing right just once, then leave the plant alone, and a hydrangea that gave you nothing but leaves for years can come back absolutely covered in flowers the very next summer. Now, if you know for a fact you have not touched it and it still will not bloom, then it is one of the next four. And this next one is the sneakiest of them all, because it fools even the most careful gardener. Suspect number 2, and it is the one that fools even careful gardeners. You did not cut the flower buds off. Winter did. The symptom looks absolutely identical to the pruning problem. Healthy green leaves, no flowers. And it shows up especially after a hard winter or a strange one. So even if you have never touched your hydrangea with a pair of shears, you can land right here. Here is why. Remember those old wood flower buds, the ones set in late summer that sit on the bare stems all winter long. They are tender, and they are exposed. A harsh, cold snap can kill them. Wildly fluctuating temperatures, Warm spells followed by hard freezes can kill them. And a late spring frost, one that hits just as the plant is waking up and the buds are swelling, can kill them too. And here is the cruel part. When those buds die, the stems themselves usually survive. So in spring, the plant leaves out, green and healthy and totally normal looking. But the flowers those stems were carrying are dead, gone over the winter. This is exactly why even a perfectly cared for, correctly pruned old wood hydrangea will sometimes just skip a year after a brutal winter. And once again, there is nothing you did wrong. So here is the fix. You protect those buds through the winter. In the fall, pile several inches of mulch, leaves, or straw around the base of the plant to insulate the crown and the roots. For big leaf types in cold regions, go further. Wrap the whole shrub in burlap, or build a simple cage of stakes and chicken wire around it, and fill that with leaves during the worst of winter and through any late frosts. And plant it somewhere sheltered to begin with, near a wall or under taller plants, out of the cruelest wind. There is also a long game fix. If your winters are genuinely too harsh, year after year, stop fighting it. Switch to the cold hardy new wood types, the panicles and the smooth hydrangeas. Because they set fresh buds every single spring, they sidestep this entire problem. This one is the northern gardener's curse. The Midwest, New England, the cold mountain zones, where late frosts come and go without warning. And the honest truth is, some years, despite everything you do, a tough winter simply wins. The plant will bloom again the next year. Now, if your winters are mild and you still get nothing, look up. The answer might be right over your head. Suspect number 3. Look at where your hydrangea is actually sitting and how much light truly reaches it over the course of a day. Because a hydrangea in too much shade will give you a gorgeous, lush, leafy bush and almost no flowers. The symptom is healthy, even vigorous, green growth, but few or no blooms. And it is especially common on plants tucked under dense trees or planted on the dark north side of a house where the sun rarely lands. Here is the why, and it is a little counterintuitive. Yes, you have probably heard that hydrangeas like shade, and most of them do want protection from harsh afternoon sun. But they still need real light to fuel flowering. Making flowers takes a lot of energy. A plant sitting in deep shade has just enough energy to push out leaves, but not enough to produce and open blooms. So it does the only thing it can. It pours everything into foliage. Here is the sweet spot. Most hydrangeas, including the big leaf types, bloom best with morning sun and afternoon shade. Think roughly 4 to 6 hours of sun a day. Too little light, and it will not flower. Too much hot afternoon sun, and it scorches and stresses. You are aiming for that middle ground. So here is the fix. Be honest with yourself and actually watch the spot over a day. If your hydrangea is getting less than about 4 hours of light, it is simply too dark where it is. Sometimes you can let more light in by thinning out the canopy of an overhanging tree. Or plan to move the plant in the fall when it is dormant and the weather is cool to a spot that gets bright morning sun. And if what you really want is a hydrangea for a genuinely sunny spot, remember the panicle types. They handle full sun far better than the rest. The bonus here is that you often fix 2 problems at once. Get the light right, and you tend to get more flowers and a less stressed, less wilty plant. Now, if the light is good, here is the suspect almost everyone overlooks, and you might be feeding it to your hydrangea without even knowing. Suspect number 4. Big green leaves and no flowers is the absolute textbook fingerprint of one specific problem: too much nitrogen. And here is the part that catches almost everyone. You might be dosing your hydrangea with it without ever feeding the plant directly. The symptom is exactly the title of this video: lush, deep green, leafy growth, and few or no blooms. Here is the why. Fertilizer has three main numbers on the bag. The first one is nitrogen, and nitrogen drives green, leafy growth. Flowering, on the other hand, depends heavily on the middle number, phosphorus. So when you flood a hydrangea with high nitrogen, it does exactly what you are telling it to do. It builds magnificent leaves at the direct expense of flowers. You essentially ordered foliage, and the plant delivered. Now here is the hidden source, the twist that catches people. If your hydrangea is planted anywhere near your lawn, every time you feed that grass with a high nitrogen lawn fertilizer, some of it is reaching your hydrangea's roots. You are dosing the plant with bloom-blocking nitrogen without your permission and without even realizing it. The University of Maryland Extension points exactly to this: excess nitrogen, often from lawn feeding right next to the bed. So here is the fix. Stop giving your hydrangea any high nitrogen fertilizer and keep your nitrogen-rich lawn feed well away from its root zone. If you fertilize the hydrangea at all, use a balanced formula, or better yet, one higher in phosphorus, the bloom number. Bone meal is a good natural source of phosphorus. And here is the honest part. Most established hydrangeas, growing in halfway decent soil, barely need feeding at all. Very often, the single best thing you can do is simply stop feeding it and let the plant rebalance itself. The bonus is that when you back off the nitrogen, all that soft, sappy, overfed growth firms up. The plant gets sturdier, less floppy, and far less attractive to the pests that love tender new growth. And if none of those four fit your plant, there are two last, simpler explanations. And they might just mean you need a little patience, or a fence. Suspect number 5 is really two quiet possibilities, and they are the easiest of all to miss. Your plant might simply be too young, or something is eating the flowers before you ever get to see them. Let's take the young plant first. A recently planted hydrangea often spends its first few years putting all of its energy into establishing its roots underground, rather than producing flowers up top. It is building its foundation. So if your hydrangea has only been in the ground for a year or two, leaves but no flowers can be perfectly normal. Many hydrangeas bloom far more heavily once they mature, often really hitting their stride by year 3 or 4. And the fix for this one is the hardest to hear. Patience. Give it time. Keep it healthy. Keep it in the right spot, and let it settle in. The flowers are coming. Now the second possibility, and this one catches a lot of suburban and rural gardeners. Deer. Deer love tender hydrangea flower buds and new growth, and they are especially hungry in late winter and early spring, when other food is scarce. Which is exactly when those old wood buds are sitting there, exposed and vulnerable. They will quietly eat the developing buds right off the plant, and you will be left with a leafy hydrangea and absolutely no idea why, because the damage happened long before bloom time. The tell is chewed, blunt-ended stems, and missing tips where the buds should be. If you see that, you have found your culprit. The fix is to protect vulnerable plants through those danger months with a deer repellent, netting, or a physical barrier. And here is the honest note tying these two together. If your plant is young and otherwise perfect, the answer is almost always to just wait one more season. The bonus is a quiet one. A young plant, given time and a little protection, very often rewards you with its best display yet, right about the time you had finally given up on it. So let's put it all together so you can walk outside right now and figure out exactly which one of these is happening to your plant. Before we do one thing for me. Think of one person you know with a big leafy hydrangea that never blooms, someone who is just about ready to give up on it and dig it out. Send them this video, just the link. It might be the thing that finally gives them flowers. So here is how you diagnose your own hydrangea in about 2 minutes. Walk outside and ask yourself 5 questions in order. Question 1. Do you cut it back in fall, winter, or spring? If yes, and you have an old wood type, that is almost certainly your answer. Stop cutting and only prune right after it flowers. Question 2. Did you have a hard winter or a late frost? If yes, the buds were likely killed. Protect the plant next winter and wait a year. Question 3. Is it sitting in deep shade, getting less than about 4 hours of light? If yes, give it more morning sun or move it in the fall. Question 4. Are you or your lawn feeding it a lot of nitrogen? If yes, back off and switch to phosphorus. Question 5. Is the plant young or are deer browsing it? If yes, the answer is patience or protection. Run those 5 in order and you will land on your cause, because it is almost always one of them. And notice the thread tying the biggest ones together. It all comes back to knowing whether you have old wood or new wood. That one fact tells you when to cut, what winter will do to your buds, and why the generic advice failed you in the first place. And listen, if you are in your 50s, 60s, or beyond, you already know a hydrangea in full bloom is one of the great rewards of a summer garden. The big blue mophead by the porch. The bush you took from your mother's yard. And it is genuinely heartbreaking to tend one faithfully for years and get nothing but leaves. But now you know. It was never your green thumb. It was one wrong instruction, and you can fix it. You have earned those blooms. So subscribe if you have not yet. It is free, and it always will be. No fluff, nothing to sell you. That is a promise. Now go look at your hydrangea, right now. And the first thing to find out is whether it is old wood or new wood. I will see you in the next one.